Good morning and welcome to the Career Coaching Experience. Once again, this is episode 6. I want to summarize, first of all, what we went over last week. I want to welcome our continuing guest, Daniella Rinaldo. How are you this morning, Daniella?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling better. I was a little sick, but now I've had my energy back, so I'm ready to get going.
Great. So last week, we hit a little bit of a stumbling block, which is fine. This happens in coaching. We're sort of at a divergent path right now. The first 5 episodes, we went through a lot of career development, a lot of introspection, self-discovery, and Daniella had pretty much decided she was going to try the entrepreneurial track in her career. But last week, we had a little bit of a setback, some problems with the boss. You've got a day job. You have to keep the day job, right? And, the setback was you're having a very difficult time getting in touch with your boss, communicating with the boss. The performance review was being put off. You need to get a raise. You're performing above and beyond the call of duty. So a lot of these things happened at the same time. And this culminated in last week's episode 5. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. So here we are, episode 6. And I want to cover so what happened? Were you able to get a hold of your boss? We come up with some strategies on how to get a hold of them, emails, calling, social media. So that's the first part. Did you get a hold of your boss? I want to, we're all interested to get an update on that. And secondly, we can do a little bit of tactical planning, some strategies in terms of, okay, if and when you do get the meeting, how do you conduct that meeting? How do you get the raise? How do you actually get something done? So I'll stop there, and we're all waiting to hear the big news. So what happened? Did you get a hold of this guy or what?
Okay, so that is the most famous question with not only you, my family and friends, almost every single day. So give us the scoop. Did you get the meeting? Did they ever respond? No and no.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
I'm not kidding. And it's really, it's upsetting. It's disappointing. But it's sad to say that I expect this at this point, right?
So tell me what happened. Tell me exactly what you tried to do since the last show to get a hold of him.
So we're in touch, well, limited, right? We communicate via WhatsApp and always emails. I like to always put everything in writing. And so I did end up sending an email asking I was going to start with sending, I want to have a meeting for my annual review. I want to know whatever happened with my bonus that was promised to me last December. Now it's the end of December. And then I wanted to discuss basically, all of my goals that I've accomplished, everything that I've done, and see where that leads me to getting a raise.
Right.
And so like I said, I was going to end up putting down every single task I've accomplished, everything that how the company, I made the company grow, everything. And then I'm thinking, honestly, my biggest thing is to actually sit down with them in person. I haven't seen them in months. I am only in touch with them when they need something from me. And so yesterday, believe it or not, I ended up getting a WhatsApp message. Hi, Daniella, I need you to do this when you get into the office. I was on my way in, and I kind of snuck right in there. And I said, I understand that this is a priority. And another priority is to ask you if you've considered my email or have even read it. Yes, absolutely. I read it. Trust me, I'm working on it. We have to schedule a meeting. Don't worry. And I don't know what happened to me, but I texted so quickly and I'm like, really? ? And then I get a voice note. Yeah, really? What do you think? I didn't read it. Of course I'm considering this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what do I do then? Bob, I have no idea. Do I say, okay, well, when would you like to meet? Because we were supposed to meet 2 months ago, a Wednesday, a Thursday morning, a Thursday afternoon. I even stayed late one day to see, oh man, maybe he might walk in. And so I guess at this point, I don't know what to do. And I have to really stay put. And I don't know. I think that it's not even just because we're beginning a new year, but I thought to myself, what's really keeping me at this position?
Yeah,
And the truth is, it's my team. I love my team. And so showing up and being there, regard putting my boss aside and my
yeah,
conflicts with them, I'm still doing my job. And I guess I feel I'm happy about that because I can confidently say that regardless of what's going on up top, I'm still holding it down, I'm still my team relies on me. I'm there for them. I'm never not going and
yeah.
like I'm not taking it out on my team.
Right. So
But
I've
that's
got a
not
couple,
enough.
yeah, I've got a couple thoughts on that. So this is this is a common issue that people have. Your allegiance to the people that you work with, because you're like most people, you're very loyal, you're very dedicated, you're very committed. You want to do well in your job. You really do take it personally. But I always advise people, never underestimate yourself, because you work for a company. All these people work in that company. But at the end of the day, you work for a piece of paper on the wall, which is the incorporation documents of the organization. That organization can fire you, can transfer you at literally a moment's notice.
Yeah.
Actually, in most states, they have to give you a 2-week notice. But the bottom line is that they can do whatever they want with you. There is no allegiance between the company and you. So it can't be a one-way street. I totally get it that you're dedicated, you love your team, but you have to think about Daniella. And you got to think about not just you, but you got to think about Nick, your family, and your future. And you have to make some hardcore decisions. And sometimes you have to be a little bit selfish. So I totally understand, I used to be the same way. When I worked in the corporate world, I was always the guy working late, cleaning up, doing all the stuff nobody else wanted to do or could do above and beyond the call of duty. But very rarely was that ever recognized or rewarded. And I learned the hard way. You have to watch out for yourself. You have to watch out for Daniella. So the question I have for you at this point is, okay, you didn't get the meeting, they're blowing you off. I can give you some strategies for actually getting this meeting, taking this to the next step, using leverage and other things. But the question I have for you, Daniella, is in your hearts, in your heart and mind, do you really want to stay with this company? I mean, I know you like the people, but everything considered, the compensation, the opportunity, the growth, the location, people, everything. Is this really where you want to be?
No. And it's
No,
because
right?
I've
Okay.
I've become too comfortable with the discomfort
Right,
of
right,
of what
right.
I'm going through. And I was actually listening to a podcast with Jay Shetty, who I love, and he ended up saying, in order to grow, you can't keep going back to the same discomfort because you're comfortable with that and because you're used to that. So my discomfort now to excel and to go to the next level in a positive way would be to get a new position.
Right.
But
So,
because I'm so comfortable with my position, my title that I have, the flexibility now of working remotely when I want to, I'm scared to not find another job that I would love.
right. Okay. All right. So that's our decision point.
Yeah,
You got to make a move. Okay.
I have to.
I will help you. And then along the way, of course, while we're looking for another alternative, something good could happen. Who knows? They could come. I'm just saying, hypothetically, 5% chance while you're doing this, you're developing leverage. Your attitude's going to change. You're going to be more, you know, um, self-contained, and they could come to you at some point and say, hey, okay, you got our attention. We want you to stay. We want you to be a partner. Big raise, big promotion. Stranger things have happened, but I think that let's go with what you want to do. Okay, I will help you. It's not my decision. Okay, I'm just asking the question. So you want to move on? Let's move on. I want to talk to you about discomfort. So I sold my company in the year 1999 to a billionaire, Robert Friedland.
Mm.
It was a telecoms company that I developed in Africa. Now, I remember when he bought my company, he knew that that was a discomforting experience for me because I loved my workers. I loved all the I had over 100 Africans working for me. I lived on a plantation in northern Kenya. It was like the job. It was a lifetime fantasy almost. It was like dream world. I loved it, but there was a lot of problems. We're dealing with local gangsters. We're dealing with local tribes. I mean, it was a violent atmosphere on the border of Somalia. It was very, very unsettling,
Right.
particularly when the family came. And, you know, this opportunity came along and it was very discomforting all the way around. But I remember Robert, who bought the company from me, sat me down one time and he says, Rob, he says, to be successful, to really, really be successful, you have to embrace the uncomfortable. You have to embrace it. You have to like hug it. And I remember he gave me a hug and he said, embrace the uncomfortable. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Embrace the uncomfortable. Be decisive. You have to make decisions. And I sold him the company. It was very difficult to do. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I went on to work for him for another year. We replicated everything in Asia, built more telecommunications networks. It was great, but it all would have never happened if I didn't embrace the uncomfortable. You know,
Right.
selling that company to him, going in front of my employees and saying, I'm sorry, guys, but the company's been sold. I'm leaving. You know, very, very uncomfortable experience, but I knew it was the right thing financially for me to do. And then the next step in my career. So that's my take on, you know, embracing the uncomfortable. You have to do that in a profession. You have to do that in your career. You have to do uncomfortable things, but it's about you. It's not about the company. It's about you. It's not even about the employees. It's not even about your team. It's about you.
Yeah.
You have to take care of you. Okay. Embrace the uncomfortable. So let's do that. Let's embrace the uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's going to be a really big challenge for me. And I don't know even where to start. I mean, I can start with sending an email, I can start with putting my resume, you know, and sending it out there, but I also think it's also more within as well, you know, getting that, how can I be comfortable with all of this and
Yeah.
embrace the, you know.
So going through this experience of leaving the company is not going to be a comfortable experience. So the first step is you have to maintain a mindset that this is not going to be a comfortable experience. It's going to be inconvenient. I'm going to have to take some interviews. It's going to be time consuming. I've got to write a resume, and not just an ordinary resume. It has to be a really good resume. I will give you the tools to put together a really, really good resume, because having a resume is like getting dressed up for a dance. Okay. The resume is your ticket into the dance. It's got to be a nice resume. It's going to land on a hiring authority's desk with another 250 resumes probably. So it's got to stick out. I will show you how to do that. It's like going to a dance, right? You want to have a nice dress, or in your case, you want to get into that nice nightclub in Upper Manhattan, right? There's a long line outside. Man, if you show up in a limo and you're dressed to the nines, they may let you in, right? Oh, excuse me, ma'am, how are you? Come on in, because they want all the good looking gals, right? So it's the same thing as a resume. You have to have a good resume. It's uncomfortable, it's expensive, it's time consuming, you know, role playing, an interview, doing research, what kind of companies, where the companies are located, how to get in contact with the companies, using LinkedIn, other job sites. All this takes a lot of time. It's uncomfortable, but you got to do it. It's again, embracing the uncomfortable, but it's well worth it, because once you get this job, you're going to look back and say, you know what? That was a lot of time and maybe some money, but it was an investment. I
Right.
invested in myself. I didn't take, you know, a couple $1,000s out of the bank and buy a treasury bill or buy a stock or a money market. I put it in myself. So this is how you have to think about it. Invest in yourself. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you how to do it.
Thank you. Yes, so how am I starting this?
All right. We'll talk a lot about this next week, but let me
Okay.
give people a little bit of a preview, okay? So we did all that personality profiling and that aptitude testing way back in episode
Yeah.
2 and 3. Remember that?
Yeah, I loved it. Everyone should always do it. So
Right.
important.
So for those that missed those episodes, kind of summarize what you think you would be good at based upon who you are, some of the things.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll talk about it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that a lot of it was teaching, and I know a lot of it went to healthcare industry, not really not in terms of me having to be like a doctor or a nurse or
Right.
anything like
Right.
that, but maybe like that hospitality type of feel. And I know that although I know we were talking about like peace out and kind of going into that entrepreneur journey. And I have a little bit of a setback because at the end of the day, reality hits and I have a 9 to 5. Um, I think that what would I like? I kind of would love to do something in terms of not being a therapist, but really being that social positive reinforcement for others, a motivator. And I've really been wanting to. One of my neighbors, she opened up a cafe, and I was even speaking to her, and I'm thinking, there's so many people that go in there. And I know so many of these people who've opened up to me, and I'm always constantly thinking that entrepreneur mentality of I can do like a live podcast with these people, or I can have meetings with them and do their life goals with them. I mean, I do it already. So I don't know. I'm still, Rob, I know that I'm like rolling around and I'm going in circles, but I guess what I'm saying is that I know what I want to do, but I don't know where I'm going to find it. So is it just saying, you know what, I have to just take my chance and try to figure it out on my own? Or do
Well,
I go and have a new position at another job, start from not the bottom, but from a position that I would be able to grow into? I really do not know. And I
yeah.
hope everyone out there listening can either relate or have answers to help me because I'm stuck.
Well, everyone is in the same boat at one point in their life and in their career, so you're not alone. And this is what I'm here for. I'm here to help you and coach you along. I'm not a consultant. I'm not an advisor, so it's not for me to say, oh, okay, here's what you should do, this X, Y, and Z. I can just throw out some ideas and then have you mull it over because it's got to be your decision. That's what a coach does. Okay. One of the things that kind of jumps out at me immediately is that you do have a coaching personality. When I first met you, a lot of people I observed are drawn to you. And I think it's because you're very open. You have a lot of empathy. You're a very understanding person. You communicate very well. I think people just like being around you because you're very pleasant. You have good things to say. You exude that positive vibe. That positive vibe. I don't sense any negativity from you. You don't have an edge. So I'm thinking, something in the realm of like advising, training, even consulting, and coaching. I think are areas that you could do very well in based upon your personality profiling. Again, this is not me talking. This is the profiling talking. But if you go back and read those profiles, all those profiles say training, advising, coaching, teaching. There was a fitness instructor was one of them. I think a coach was one. Executive recruiting is another one. I mean, in recruiting, a lot of recruiting is a combination. I mean, my regular job as an executive search consultant, as a recruiter, a headhunter, okay? It's really, at the end of the day, nothing more than a combination of recruiting, advising, coaching, instructing, training, helping people. That's all recruiting is.
Right.
And if you want to, I mean, if your financial needs are such that you can't start out at the bottom of a coaching firm or something, you could be a recruiter maybe. And there's a lot of firms that would hire somebody who wants to be a recruiter, and you can make a ton of money doing that. Okay. So that's just something that jumps off the page at me. So
Right.
I think what we'll do is, why don't you go back and review all the personality profiling, all the behavioral analysis, and put some real thought into let's come up with 5 positions.
Okay.
5 positions based upon all the data that we've done so far that you think you would be good at and that you want to do. Because really, finding a job in a career is really 3 things. It's experience, what you've done, it's
Mhm.
skills, we've already measured those, and it's interests.
Yeah. So
So think of these 3 circles. You put them together in that middle part where they meet, that little shaded area there. You can imagine like 3 rings.
Yeah.
That's where we attack. Right there. It's where your skills, experience, and interests are.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what you just said, if I'm not mistaken. What you just kind of summarized, without getting too specific, going into the cafe, helping people, advising, coaching. You've got the skills for that. Believe me, you do have the skills. Experience, maybe not so much because you've never been a coach and never been a consultant, but you're doing a lot of that in managing, leading your team right now in your company. So you've already done a lot of that. So you do have some experience, and it seems like you're very interested. So I think the gap is probably on the experience side. So we'll just have to start thinking about, positions that you could get so that you could at least temporarily maintain your standard of living. Because if your lifestyle is, you're going to make, $100,000 a year, we're not going to put you in a position that's making 35,000, because
Right.
that difference is just too much. We have to deal with reality too. I mean, it's one thing to hear people say, oh, you should follow your passion, follow this, and just take any job, take a part-time job, cleaning toilets, or taking the garbage out, or, whatever it is. It's not realistic in many cases because we're not 18 years old anymore. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so I think for next week, come up with 5 specific positions along the lines that we've talked about. Specific positions like
Yeah.
recruiter or coach or consultant. Once we have the positions, then I can really help you figure out how to break in, at what level, how to get in, and we could come up with a campaign of how to reach those people in the next episode. So within a very short period of time, you'll start getting interviews with people.
Yeah. And I actually, I'm so, I'm not fearful of interviews, because at the end of the day, we're human beings, it's a discussion, and yes, I'm there to sell myself and everything. But my biggest challenge right now, I think, would really be my resume, because
We can fix that, yeah.
yeah, and words can be very tricky on a resume
Yeah.
as to what you've accomplished or how to sell yourself. And that's what I think. Like, if you see my resume, it's like, oh, okay, I see what she's done. But I think that a lot of people misinterpret. But once they meet me, they're like, oh my God, this is different, completely
Yeah, so
different. So I needed to match and sync in a sense.
that's a good point. So most people are hired for what they've done. That's the resume. But everyone is fired or promoted based upon who they are.
Yeah, true.
So the who is the golden goose. My objective is to help you put together a resume that's powerful, informative, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit entertaining to get you in the door. Because once I get you in the door to the interview, you're going to crush it. I will bet big money right now that if I got you 5 interviews, you would get 4 jobs. So our job is to get you in the door. It's to get you coming out of that limousine at that high flying Manhattan nightclub, dressed to the nines with a line around the block, and the guy says, oh, okay, wow,
Come in.
come right in.
Yeah.
That's going to be the purpose of the resume, and that's what we're going to do. Okay. So, but we cannot do the resume until we find out what you want to do and who you want to be. Okay. Because
Yeah.
once we find that out, then we take your resume and we craft it. We make it responsive to the employer that would be interested in you. And that can be, of course, we never want to put anything on there that's not true, but we can take what you've done and the kind of person that you are and highlight those areas. In other words, if it's a sales job, I'm just saying, if it's a sales job, then we would want to put in all your sales metrics, grew sales by 30%, increase the bottom line, this. If it's an operations job, then we want to put things in there about efficiencies. Yeah, in 3 years of my existing company, I improved operational efficiency by 12.2%, improved productivity. So, if it's a coaching job, then you want to, emphasize that, I've managed a team of, 6 people, and I've conducted annual reviews and periodic reviews, and I've motivated my team to increase productivity by X or sales by X. So the first thing we have to do is figure out who you want to be and what you want to do. And that's what we'll decide next week. Okay.
And why is this such a challenge? Is it's like, I feel like I know myself so well, but when you ask me the simple question of, so what position could you see yourself in? What do you want to do? I'm over here like, I don't know.
Well, it's
why is it so hard?
It's because you invest all your time into your current job. You're a very loyal person. You're a very good person. You've elevated your team because you're spending all your energy on your company. You're spending all your energy making your bosses rich. You're spending all your energy increasing value in the company.
Yeah.
The thing that you've forgotten about is Daniella Rinaldo. That's who you've forgotten about. So you just haven't put any thought into it. Now we're going to turn the tables on these guys, and you're going to go in and you're just going to do whatever the minimum is. Okay. You're going to put your hours in, and you're going to work the minimum. Okay. Because now it's about Daniella Rinaldo. Now it's about us getting you to the next level. These guys had their chance. Okay. You can do this with a clear conscience because you've given them enough time to react. They're ignoring you. They're blowing you off. Okay, great. I got it. I'm going a different direction. Now you're not going to quit. Okay.
Right.
You're going to build up all this leverage. So it could be at the very end when you walk in there and tell them I'm taking another position, things may change. Probably not, but it happens. Okay. So that's why we're going to take this dual track. How does this sound to you?
This sounds great. This sounds really, really great. And I'm excited, and I am going to embrace the uncomfortable because it's time that I really put myself first.
Exactly.
And everything now, and even though it's a selfish feeling, but if it doesn't fit for Daniella, it's not going to work. And I kind of need that mentality all around. I'm not saying that in relationships or dating, nothing like that, but I'm just saying to, better myself and really not be afraid to succeed and get rid of this comfortable feeling that, oh, this is the only thing I can accomplish. I'm investing in everything else but myself. And so I'm excited.
Exactly. The key is we're going to embrace the uncomfortable.
I love that.
Embrace the uncomfortable. And we are going to figure out what Daniella Rinaldo wants to do, who she wants to be. You'll come up with 5 positions between now and next week. We'll go over those 5 positions next week. And then we will come up with a plan of attack because we're going to war.
Yeah.
Okay. This is war. Okay. We are going to war, and we're going to find you something, and it's going to be your choice. It's not going to be me telling you what to do. You're going to discover this all on your own, and it's going to make it more powerful because you're going to extremely own what you do from now on. And you're going to be able to put 100% of your positive energy, no more negativity, positive energy into this. And I'll guarantee you, your personal life will become a lot more enhanced, as well as your professional life, because they're all interlinked.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And they say don't bring, whatever it's going on at home, you don't bring it to work, and whatever's going on at work, you don't bring it into your home. But that's very difficult.
Difficult, very difficult to pull it off. Almost impossible. So
Yeah, of course. Especially if you're living with someone or you're sharing a space, because you can't just like everything is great all the time, work is perfect. I got my raise,
yeah.
and you didn't.
Well, to be honest with you, nobody leads a perfect life. We're all human beings. We all have flaws. We all have problems that we're dealing with, personal, social, professional. You're in the same boat. Everyone else is going through something similar to you are. The difference in you, though, Daniela, that separates you from most other people is you're addressing it head on.
Yeah.
That's what makes you different. People hide behind this the rest of their lives. That's why they become miserable. So
Yeah.
we're hitting this head on. It's going to get better. We're going to do this together. Okay.
Thank you. And
All right.
I do have something, which I think a lot of people can relate. And I think that, I don't know, maybe growing up, this is what was always mentioned to me, but when someone looks at a resume, they like to see that you've been at a job for quite amount of years. And when they see that you've jumped around, it's kind of like, well, what happened here? And so I think that that's something that even my mom has mentioned to me, like, you always have to make sure you put in your 1 to 2 to 3 years, you try to grow. And I'm thinking, I'm trying everywhere, whether it was in real estate or whatever it is it because I didn't find my niche? I didn't find the job that was my calling, or something like this? I've given it my 150%.
I think,
And if they
yeah,
see after 2.5 years that now I'm looking for another position, what will the whoever's hiring me or interviewing me say?
I
Oh,
think
well,
that the main thing, yeah, all right. Well, we'll go over that. That's part of coaching. Okay. I will
yeah,
go over with you how to address a lot of job movement. That's another topic. Okay. I can only tell you that my main objective is going to be to help you, to coach you, to get in the door the first time. We'll work on that. A lot of it has to do with how the resume is presented, how you describe things. But once you get in front of the interviewer, you're not going to have any trouble. They're going to want to
okay,
hire
let's
you.
get through that door.
Yeah, we just have to get you. We have to get you in that club.
Yeah,
We got to get the limousine now. We got to build it. We got to figure out what color it's going to be. We got to
yeah,
pick out your dress, which the shoes, the whole thing. But we got to get you beyond that velvet line.
yeah, for
That, that
sure.
that's all we got to do. Because once you're in the door, it's party time.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out. I am not worried about this at all. So anyway, we'll talk again next week.
yep,
And so just get those 5 companies, and what we'll do next week is I'll have a resume link already for you. And
perfect.
once we decide which jobs we're going to attack, which professions, which positions, all that sort of thing, then we will discuss on next week's show more about the resume, how to do the resume. I'll send you the link.
Yep.
We'll probably start working on it so that our viewers can participate with us. But yeah, the next step is going to be the resume.
Yeah, and for anyone who is
It's gonna be a
watching
lot of
this,
fun. Yeah.
if you know of anyone hiring, please let me know.
Exactly. I'm sure the phone
Email
calls will
Rob.
be coming in. Yeah. All right, Daniela. Well, have a great week, and
Thank you. Happy New Year.
we'll
Let's
talk again.
crush
Okay.
it.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks.
Bye.